My name is Michael Turner. What you're about to hear happened during a road trip across the western United States in 2020. There were 4 of us that night. All awake. All sober. And every one of us remembers the same thing. Which is why we know it wasn't a dream. It was me, my girlfriend Emily, my college friend Jason, and his cousin Laura. We were driving through eastern Utah, heading toward Colorado. Our plan was simple: drive until we got tired, crash at a cheap motel, and continue in the morning. Around 1:30 a.m., we found a small roadside motel. 1 floor. Old neon sign flickering. No front desk. Just a bell and a handwritten note that said, "Rooms open. Pay in the morning." Jason laughed it off. Laura didn't like it. Neither did Emily. But we were exhausted. So we took room 6. The room smelled damp. 2 beds. 1 bathroom. 1 window facing the parking lot. Jason and I took 1 bed. Emily and Laura took the other. Around 2:10 a.m., while we were talking quietly, Emily suddenly asked, "Did someone just walk past the window?" Jason said no. I hadn't seen anything either. Then Laura said something that made us all quiet. I heard footsteps, but they stopped right outside. We listened. Nothing. No cars. No voices. Just silence. Then came the knock. 3 slow knocks on the door. Not aggressive. Not friendly. Measured. Jason got up and looked through the peephole. No one's there. Emily whispered, "Don't open it." Another knock. This time louder. I asked, "Who is it?" A voice answered. Male. Low. Calm. Motel security. Just need to check something. Laura shook her head. There was no security desk, she whispered. Jason hesitated, then stepped back from the door. We didn't answer. The handle turned slightly. Then stopped. Footsteps walked away. None of us slept after that. Around 3:40 a.m., the bathroom light turned on. By itself. Emily gasped. Laura swore she hadn't touched the switch. Jason stood up and checked the bathroom. Empty. But the mirror was fogged. That made no sense, we hadn't used hot water. And on the fogged mirror, a shape had been drawn. Not words. Just a tall stick-like figure. Head. Body. Long arms. Jason wiped the mirror clean without saying a word. Then we heard it. A soft laugh. Outside the room. This time, the footsteps didn't stop at our door. They moved back and forth across the parking lot. Then stopped. Then split. 2 sets. One near the window. One near the door. Emily whispered, "There's more than one person." Laura was crying quietly now. I grabbed my phone, no signal. Jason whispered, "Someone standing outside the window." I slowly pulled the curtain back just an inch. There was a man standing there. Facing the glass. So close I could see his breath fogging it. But his face was completely blank. No expression. Just staring. Then another figure stepped into view beside him. Then another. All standing still. All facing our room. Emily pulled me down. "Don't let them see you," she whispered. The door handle began to shake. Not violently. Testing. Like they were checking how locked it was. A voice, different from before, spoke softly through the door. "We know you're awake." Jason held his breath. Laura covered her mouth. The voice continued. "You shouldn't have stopped here." Then the window tapped. Once. Twice. 3 times. Perfectly in sync with the door. Jason suddenly shouted, "Now." He kicked the bathroom window open. We didn't think. We ran. Barefoot across the gravel parking lot. Didn't look back. Didn't grab our bags. We jumped into the car and sped off. As we pulled onto the highway, Emily screamed. In the rearview mirror. The motel sign was dark. The building. Gone. Just empty land. We drove until sunrise. Later, we searched for that motel. There is no record of it. No address. No photos. No reviews. But all 4 of us remember the same room. The same knocks. The same figures. And sometimes, when I stay in motels now, I hear slow footsteps outside the door. Stopping. Waiting. This is Michael Turner. If a place feels wrong, don't stay the night.
My name is Mary Peckham. I lived next door to the Moore family in Villisca, Iowa, and I was the first one to realize something was terribly wrong on the morning of June 10, 1912. I wish I could forget what I saw that day. But these memories, they've stayed with me my entire life. The night before seemed ordinary enough. I saw Josiah, Sarah, and the children return from their church program. The Stillinger girls were staying overnight, sweet little Lena and Ina. Nothing felt strange. Nothing hinted at the horror waiting inside their home. I woke early the next morning as I always did, and stepped outside to hang laundry. As I worked, something nagged at me. The Moore house was quiet, too quiet. No sign of the children doing chores. No sound of Sarah in the kitchen. Not even the chickens had been let out of their coop. At first I tried to brush it off, but as the hours passed, an uneasiness settled in my chest. I walked to their door and knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder. Still nothing. That's when real fear crept over me. I went around the house calling their names. Every window was covered from inside, curtains pulled shut tight. That was strange. Sarah usually let the morning light in. I tried the front door. Locked. The back door locked. That had never happened before. Nobody in Villisca locked their doors in 1912. I hurried back to my house and telephoned Josiah's brother, Ross. I told him, "Something's wrong. You need to come here now." Ross arrived quickly, pale and breathless. He banged on the door, calling for his brother. When no one answered, he used his spare key. I stayed behind him. My hands were trembling and I didn't know why. But it felt like walking into something dreadful. We stepped into the parlor and immediately noticed the heavy stillness, like the air itself was holding its breath. Ross went ahead while I lingered at the kitchen doorway. Then I heard his voice, low, shaking, "Mary, don't come in here." But it was too late. I'd already looked into the first bedroom. 2 small figures under blankets. Still as stone. I remember my knees giving out. I remember whispering, "Oh Lord, no." Ross rushed upstairs. I heard him scream. A sound I hope never to hear again in my life. That scream told me everything. Everyone in that house. All 8 of them were gone. The Moores, the Stillinger sisters, killed in their beds. I ran outside, calling for help, shouting for anyone who could hear me. Soon the whole town gathered outside the Moore home, faces pale, people crying, others frozen in shock. We were a small town. We were a family, and someone had destroyed us. The sheriff arrived quickly and made us stay outside, but whispers spread fast. Every mirror in the house had been covered. Every victim's face had been hidden beneath sheets. A bowl of bloody water sat in the kitchen. The killer had washed up before leaving. And no one had heard a thing that night. The idea that someone could do something so monstrous and then vanish without a trace changed Villisca forever. For years after that day, I couldn't sleep through a single night. Every creak in my house made my skin crawl. Every time someone walked down the road after dark, I imagined an axe glinting in the moonlight. They never found who did it. Not one person was ever convicted. And that's what haunts me most. Whoever walked into that home and slaughtered 8 innocents walked right past my door. Maybe they even watched me hanging laundry that morning. Maybe they still walk among us.
My name is Daniel Foster. I was 11 years old. This happened in 2006, in a quiet neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio. My parents had gone to a late dinner. They left around 8:30 p.m. I stayed home alone. No babysitter. No neighbors checking in. Just me, watching TV in the living room. Around 9:10, the doorbell rang. I didn't open it. I wasn't supposed to. I just stood there, listening. A man's voice came through the door. Calm. Normal. Hey, buddy. Your parents asked me to grab something they forgot. He didn't shout. Didn't sound nervous. Like he expected someone young to answer. I didn't respond. After a few seconds, he said, "It's okay. I know you're alone." That's when I backed away from the door. I don't know how he got in. The back door maybe. All I know is that a minute later, I heard footsteps inside. Not running. Not sneaking. Walking. Drawers opening. Cabinets closing. He never came into the living room. Never checked on me. It was like he knew exactly where I was, and didn't need to see me. I stayed perfectly still. Didn't cry. Didn't scream. I don't know why. When my parents came home, the house looked normal. Nothing broken. Nothing overturned. But a few things were gone. My dad's watch. Some cash. And one strange thing. A photo album. Not the expensive stuff. Not electronics. Just things that felt specific. The police said it was likely someone who knew the house. The police asked my parents questions. But they never asked me much. Just if I saw his face. I hadn't. They never asked how he knew I was alone. They assumed he guessed. But here's the thing. No lights were on except the TV. No car in the driveway. No noise. And he didn't check. He didn't test. He just knew. I asked my parents about it years later. They exchanged looks. My mom finally said, "We didn't tell you everything." Apparently, neighbors reported seeing the same man walking past our house earlier that week. Always around the same time. Always slowing down. Always looking at the windows. But no one reported it. Because he never did anything. Until that night. The man was never caught. No fingerprints. No follow-ups. Nothing. But sometimes I think about what he said. I know you're alone. Not I think. Not I'm guessing. I know. And what bothers me most is this. He didn't come to hurt anyone. He didn't panic. He didn't rush. He came prepared. For a house with one child inside. This is Daniel Foster. Some mysteries aren't loud enough to be scary. Until you realize how quietly planned they were.